podcast is the Who You Work With Matters podcast. And I ask myself the same question. Do I want to continue podcasting? What do I want to do next? How do I want to continue to get my message out there? More importantly, I use the podcast as a great way to connect.
Welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts, Dan and Anthony. Episode number 45 with Aaron Levine from the Luxury Group. Welcome, Aaron.
Yo, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Love to have you. Glad you made it today. Tell us a little bit about the Luxury Group.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, the Luxury Group is one of our DBAs, right? So the business is actually A. Levine Financial Services, LLC, what I incorporated in 2007, right? So I started the business. I didn't know what the business was. I still don't know. I do know what the business is, but I pretend I don't know what it is because I always want to continue to evolve. But in 2007, when I was in the middle of graduate school, I was doing different things, heavily focused in real estate, getting my MBA at Monmouth University, which I graduated in 2008 with my MBA from there. The financial services, first name, first initial, last name, financial services, right? Very common. Everybody starts there. Some people stay there forever. I wanted to make a point very early on in the business to get out of there, right? So trade name, entity name has always stayed the same because I don't want to refile paperwork and start over and incorporate and do all the things. But we've had several DBAs along the way, right? So we had an LG insurance agency, right? L obviously standing for Levine. Then I'm like, let's redefine what the LG means. And over time, we decided to use the word luxury. And obviously, Luxury Group worked out to be good. And, the word luxury, we figured out over time also that we define it as a state of comfort and ease, right? So a luxurious experience is not necessarily like, oh, you're thinking a spa day or a 5-star resort. It's just having a good experience is a luxurious experience. And that's kind of, what we want to bring to our guests, to our clients, to everything that we do, and be able to expand on just selling a commodity contract, right? A commodity product, car insurance, home insurance, business insurance. How can we take it to another level, right? Everybody asks the questions, how can you differentiate yourself from your competition? Everybody gives one answer. I provide better service than everybody else. You can say that about anybody in any industry. Yeah. And insurance especially, everyone's like, oh, we give really good service. I'm like, no, you don't. You suck. And we suck many times, right? We're not always great, but we try to bring that goal and that ideal of luxury to the work that we provide. And if our employees embody it, then we win.
So let's talk about insurance, like why insurance and how long you've been doing this for how many years?
So
since 2007,
we incorporated in 2007. I was working part-time doing life and health insurance for a gentleman, John White, who was a mentor of mine. He kind of took me under my wing. I got introduced to him because he tried to sell my dad, right? So my family was in business since the 70s. My dad had many businesses as an entrepreneur. So I grew up in that mindset, right? I grew up in that feeling. My family owned the Windmill restaurants until 2022. When my dad and my aunt finally sold it to retire and move on to whatever the next chapter was. And I hated working in the restaurant business. I loved it for a period of time, but I hated working nights and weekends. I'm like, I'm better than this. I don't want to work nights and weekends. And, so real estate was where I wanted to be. And then in 2008, when real estate wasn't working out so well, we had to make a decision and choose to find something that was a little more stable. And at that time, I still wanted to make sure that I owned my own business. I wanted to build something and grow something. And ready, fire, aim, I kind of said, let's do it. Let's go into property and casualty insurance. Everybody needs it. I can sell a commodity better than the next guy, right? That was the goal, was to sell a commodity and make enough money doing that and continue to evolve and expand and grow as we continue to do today, 16 years later. I'm still looking to figure out what's next. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, and I don't want to ever answer that question. I want to keep going with it.
So let's talk about the evolution of 16 years. Like what has happened in the last 16 years from the inception of what you've done to the company that you've built today, the branching off of that company to podcasts and other events and training people, educating people. You do so many different things.
Right.
But, what does that business look like today? And was that the vision back in 2007?
I mean, so when we opened our retail doors in that time, it was 2008, the end of '08 going into '09. And I rented an office, had no contracts, I had no clients, but I knew I needed to do it and do it by myself because I wanted to do it better. And I didn't want to be an employee for somebody else. Right. So I rented an office because I needed one because you couldn't get contracts unless you had a retail space back then. Times are very different today. You can get contracts doing anything because the world is able to work in a remote fashion. And, we started getting contracts. It's like a video game, right? You start on level 1 of the video game. You have no money. You have no cars. You have no weapons. You have nothing, right? You're just out there trying to figure it out, and you pick up crumbs along the way.
Yeah.
So I started the business saying, okay, I want to be able to help anybody that I can help. And I'm okay writing small things to make a couple of dollars. And we keep that philosophy today. We like to be able to help anybody that wants to work with a professional agent to be able to get the advice, to get the information that they need to make an informed decision, as opposed to just clicking buttons, buying something online. When people purchase insurance online, they're 90% of the time they're underinsured. They don't know what's going on. They're not qualified, and they might misrepresent themselves on an application just to get a quote. And then come claim time, that application will get pulled and said, oh, you didn't tell us the truth on the app. See you later. We're canceling your insurance retroactively, and you're not getting paid out for your claim. Like, that's a real issue in today's marketplace. That's where we try to be the guide, the agent, the professional that helps buyers, consumers of insurance along. So that's always the premise, is to be the guide, to be able to help people, educate people so that they can make informed buying decisions. We don't sell insurance. We help people buy insurance because we need it. We're required by law. We're required by contract. We're required by the banks, right? Somebody's making us buy insurance at the base level. Some people want to take it to another level and de-risk themselves, right? But from the basic level of insurance, it's somebody's making you do it, right? You want to buy a car? Okay, show me your insurance so you can drive off the lot. Required. Bank, you want to buy a home? You need the insurance. You want to open up a retail business? You need insurance to sign the contract to get the keys to your retail place, right? So it's required in all these manners, and that's why I'm like, go sell a commodity. It's easy. So now we operate in different divisions. We're 17 team members. We have our personal lines division, which also houses our VIP, which is our high net worth sector. We have a team that just manages the business insurance side of things for small and mid-sized businesses. We have the life and disability side of things, and then me. We have the media side, the podcast side, the networking side, the fun side that generates all the leads. I say fun because I enjoy doing it.
You get to do the fun stuff now.
When I tell people, and people think it's all glamorous, I show them my schedule and how many nights a week I have to be out. And here's what we have to do. And here's the grind. The grind looks different than cold calling, but it's still work to do what we're doing here right now. We're doing this for a reason. We're doing it for fun, but there's a purpose behind, getting behind these microphones right now.
Yeah, and you said, I was going to add, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, well, what is your differentiating factor? Because you said it just before. You said, well, everyone selling a commodity could say, oh, our service is top notch, the best of the best. But how do you deliver that, right? But you did touch on it, and you said, well, we look to make sure that we assure our insured clients that they're not going to get beat over the head at the end of their claim, or if they ever have a claim. But how do you deliver that?
That's great. It's a great question, right? Processes. And that's, to Dan's point earlier, he asked me 19 questions in one statement. Differentiating and building, it's building out the processes and making sure that we can deliver what we want to deliver. It's also getting better contracts, knowing the ins and outs of different insurance companies for underwriting guidelines. So it's knowledge, it's education, right? And it's the ability to provide different solutions to different types of people. But it's having the right processes to communicate appropriately and effectively with automation, because we're using plenty of automation in our systems, and making sure we pick up the phone, right? My number one rule since day one of having my first employee was pick up the phone. The only thing we can do better than somebody else is pick up the phone. The number one complaint from people about their insurance agents He's not getting back to me. I'm not getting a call back. They're not picking up the phone. I can't get an answer. That's the number one complaint. So number one rule, pick up the phone. If you don't have the answer, guess what? We'll go find somebody that has the answer and we'll call you back. You don't have to make it up. Don't tell stories. Don't make shit up. Like, just be honest. I don't know. Let me go find out and let me call you back because somebody else has the answer. And I'm traveling in a couple of weeks to a mastermind group that I'm a part of. I've got 100 other agents around the country that have different answers to different problems that I can reach out to. I had a huge manufacturing prospect that I was working on. It was meat manufacturing plant. And we had a very solid in. We were working on some things. Unfortunately, I didn't win. But I had a guy in Oklahoma that has a master's degree in meat packaging, right? Only in farm country do you get this. But he knows the ins and outs of the USDA and OSHA and everything else.
Slaughter yourself.
And so I called him up. I'm like, I've got this. He's like, here's what you have to ask. And I'm like, good. If I get to the next step, I'm flying you in. I'm going to put you up for 2 nights. You're going to come to this meeting with me, and I'm going to pay you $10,000 if we win. Like, I had somebody that can help me win. We didn't get to that point, but I don't care. I'm happy to share if we can find a way to win together because, we're going to get into the podcast stuff, but it's all about knowing the right people. Having the who's to fall back on is super important, right? So the people that I'm going to be with in Key West, Florida, while my wife thinks it's all fun and games, there's plenty of fun and games, but it's the smartest people that I know in my industry, networking and being together. And the conversations at the pool are still insurance conversations. Yeah, we talk about kids and family and life and, personal things, but there's still a lot of conversations around how do we win? How do we build better processes? What technologies are we using? What solutions do we have for different things to do better? How can we do more? How can we do better? How can we provide different solutions so that we can compete? How can Aaron compete with Brown & Brown and Marsh McLennan, the biggest agencies in the world? Well, I have technology partners that help us with solutions that bring in risk management ideas and concepts so that we can help people reduce their total cost of risk. And we take things to a whole nother level when we're talking to middle market size accounts, right? Accounts spending $250,000 a year or more in insurance. We have solutions for risk management to help them bring their total costs down. It's not always the insurance premium dollars. It's what can we do to get employees back to work faster. It's what can we do to secure your building better, to make sure that we can get a better insurance premium so your buildings don't have a burn down or tree issues or whatever it is. It's these people that I'm with that have these solutions and ideas that we can then bring together so that we can win when you're running a small business, right? Of 17 team members.
I love that you're working on the business, not in the business. Everything that you talk about, super, super important for a lot of people to understand. You're talking about doing all these things outside of, taking the calls, call and all that. But those are all super important facts of how you've grown to where you are, how you're doing what you're doing, and how you're able to take a business from just you to all these other places. And something super important that you talked about was answering the phone. So I actually just fired an insurance agent because they didn't answer the phone. And I was literally
I wasn't lying.
I was literally messaging her, hey, listen, I need this insurance, blah, 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 blah. I'm away on vacation. I'll be back this day. Like, that's not my problem that you're on vacation.
No.
I still need insurance, right?
Right.
All right. So, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I gave her the week. Then I'm messaging her. She's got this stupid automated shit that comes on text message like, oh, we can't answer this question right now, but somebody will get back to you. I'm like, the fuck? And so, whatever. 3 days go by. I call this other dude. I'm like, dude, I need insurance today. All right, no problem. And then she finally messages me back. She's like, hey, just want to ask you a couple questions. I go, you're too late. She goes, I was literally going to write it today. I was like, yeah, 14 days too late.
14 days
14
too late.
days.
We don't have time.
What is wrong with you?
We don't have time in today's world to wait 14 days.
Right.
We're not doing things via snail mail. You're not sending me a written request and sending it via carrier pigeon so that I can get back to you whenever I feel like it.
You're in a car dealer. You're buying a house. You're whatever you're doing. You don't got 14 days. You got 14 minutes.
So I had a guy text me Friday night at 6:00. Aaron, we'll call him Joe. Actually, his name is Joe. Aaron, it's Joe. I need your help. And I'm MFing this guy before I call him back because I don't want to call him back. It's 6 o'clock on a Friday. And I'm like, I can have his agent call him back. And I'm like, all right, smile, dial. Joe, what can I do for you? I'm buying a new car. I'm like, you didn't know about this 4 hours ago? I need to do it right now. I'm leaving on Tuesday. I need to get delivery by Monday. Can you help me? I helped him on the spot. Did I want to? No. But did I do the right thing? Yes. Am I going to get an exceptional referral out of the guy? 100%.
Oh yeah.
When he pulls up in his new Cybertruck and he tells his friends that my insurance agent answered me at 6 o'clock on a Friday when the office had already been closed for 2 hours, right? And nobody was I wasn't going to ask somebody else to be near a computer. I was actually able to figure it out on my own, which is a rarity because I don't know how to do the work anymore. Right? I haven't known how to do the work in a long time. I know how to have the conversations, but I actually figured out how to do the work. So I was like, I patted myself on the back. No one else needs to know about that. But
We'll give you a quick round.
I figured out how to do it without bothering somebody else, and we made it work. You know, we made something happen that shouldn't have happened until Monday. But, you know, so I'll get that 5-star review from this guy, and I'll get a referral out of him because we went above and beyond what we needed to do. Now, that's an exceptional answer, but sometimes it's just answering the phone during work hours or having somebody else call you back, right? And thank God my team is as strong as they are. Everybody knows how to do so much more than I do when it comes to doing the work. But again, that takes a while. That's a hard thing to let go of. And having that trust for your team to do all the work and trust them to do all the work without having to micromanagement is huge. That's when you really get to start working on your business and not in it. And I still work in it plenty, but sitting here with you guys right now, this is working on my business and on my personal brand and learning from you guys at the same time.
Yeah, I think what you did answering Joe's call not only got you a 5-star referral, but it creates loyalty.
Right.
I know personally, I have an insurance agent. Shout out Jim. He's the best guy in the world. He answers my phone call 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'll text him. He'll call me. You know, he's on vacation with his family camping. He's like, I'll call you in an hour. Calls me in an hour. I mean, the guy's, and I've had offers for much cheaper insurance.
Sure.
But I stay with him just because, hey, you answer my call at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, then yeah, like I'm not going anywhere.
At some point, I tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, come back to reality. But no, it's, you know, we'll still answer the calls. Early in my career, I had a client, my biggest client at the time, 12 years ago, whatever it was. And he loved making phone calls at 10 o'clock at night. And I would answer them, and then he'd give me tasks to do at 10 o'clock at night. And I would jump through hoops to make this guy happy at that time. And it was stressful as all hell because I couldn't afford to lose the account. Now I know how to control the situation a little bit differently, you know, and can delegate it out, you know, and set a different expectation. But man, when you're just learning and on the come up, those 10 o'clock calls, you need to take them and you need to grind through them and do whatever the client wants until you're strong enough to flip the script and then control the conversation.
Until you read Built to Sell.
What's that?
Until you read Built to Sell and it tells you get rid of that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just, you know, but that all, it's all a time game. But if you're not learning throughout the entire process, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. So what's next like for your company? Where do you see yourself, let's say, 5 years? Do you have a plan? Are you trying to expand other places? I don't know much about insurance. You know what I mean? If I think insurance, I think it's simple on my end. That I call somebody who's an expert in it and I get it, but I don't know much around it. You know what I mean? Like anything else. He's an expert in solar. I don't know anything. I call him and ask him a question. He's going to give me an answer. So I always look for the expert.
Right.
That way I don't have to know much. So what's next for you and like where you're trying to take
and that's for me too, right? Is I have the right people around me, right? I have the right who's in my life, whether it's my team, people that I look up to, people that I can reach out to if I need an assist on something. You know, the team is very solid right now. And in the past couple of years, we had some rocky times with the team being scattered. Some, I don't even know how to say this, some really not so good team members on the team. I was trying to say it politely. People
shitty
that
employees.
Sucked.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Shitty employees, exactly. We had a couple of them. We had a streak where we just had a hard time hiring appropriately. Then I re-engaged with a recruiter to help out on that hiring front, and we've changed it up. And the last couple of people that we've brought onto the team, and I think we brought 4 new people onto the team in the last 7-8 months, have been stellar, right? We've really got some tremendous winners and people that are fitting in with the culture.
I was just going to say,
right?
you attribute it to culture.
When the team gets along, we get a lot done. Because we've had some outliers in the team, and we've had one lady that was like batshit crazy, like I had to fire her after 3 weeks, and recently we had somebody that quit after 2.5 weeks. I started beating him up a little bit because he wasn't doing his work. So I put some pressure on until he quit. Like, it was like the girlfriend that you make break up with you instead of you breaking up with her right away, right? It was like one of those situations, and I got him to quit very quickly. But then I was back to the drawing board, right? So we failed, and we had to start over again, and we learned from these mistakes. And it really, when you find the right people that fit and click, it's great. So where we're at right now on the team is that the teams are very strong on both the personal lines and the commercial lines side of it. My idea is then to build up the sales side, right? My next goal, my next adventure is to try to build, not to try, is to actually build a sales team. Mm-hmm. That's where I want to go next. I want to bring in outbound sales team, right? I'd like to get 2 to 3 individuals in a training class, right? Whether they're green or experienced, bring them into my processes, our methods, our ideologies, and help them build their own books of business, so to speak, right, under my umbrella. So that's what's on the horizon. That's something that I'm going to start working on, Q3 into Q4, and hopefully be ramped up into Q4 with a team. But I want to bring people on at the same time and do the development, right? I mean, these salespeople need other salespeople to compete with internally and to work side by side with, and they need to be able to ask each other questions. So if I can get 2 or 3 people to start, in early Q4 together and build that team out and start rolling that way, that's definitely that's what's next for me.
So you're talking about building a team and under your umbrella. Does that mean that you're going to be franchising, or does that mean you're everything in-house?
They're going to be employees, right? So bringing in a sales team is going to be bringing in new team members that are going to be responsible for outbound opportunities.
So you're taking the sniper approach, which I find interesting, right? Because there's 2 different approaches here, which is hard and fast call center, and then there's where you're seemingly looking to do, which is more the sniper approach.
Okay.
Why did you decide that?
I mean, it's just what I want to build, right? I'm in the relationship business, right? I like people, and we want people to rely on us. We want people to trust us. So the sales method that we want to use is going to be highly targeted, very detailed, right? We're not spamming LinkedIn, right? We're not spamming with a call center, although once we get to a certain point, we could add a call center. We can add a team member that's outsourced to make a lot of those calls. And I wouldn't necessarily use a call center, but I would bring in, a VA that's forward-facing, phone-facing to make a lot of those initial calls. But the team needs to go and start building on their own. They need to get their volume up, and then we can support it, right? Build your processes, build the business, and then take tasks away, right? Dan Martell, buy back your time, right? It's, okay, you don't have anything to do. So what are you going to do? You're going to go make phone calls. That's job number 1, right? Go knock on doors, go make phone calls, go make marketing drops. Job number 2 is, okay, now I have all these opportunities come in, but I don't have time to make phone calls. Okay, we'll find somebody else to make phone calls, right? So it's selling off your lower level tasks to the next rung down to be able to continue to do that, right? But in the beginning, if somebody doesn't have a big book of business or anything to do, they got to do all the work, right? That's important from building it from the ground up. Can't come in and just expect to live on my leads, all the time.
A paralyzer of growth, too, is what you talked about. A lot of people don't realize that getting rid of those small tasks are the first thing and first steps. Everyone wants to keep doing those tasks. Like, I need to make the phone calls. I need to do the marketing. I need to do this. And they don't realize that. And, when I coach people in business, I'm like, you got to get rid of the low-paying job.
Yeah.
Right? That's the easiest thing. So I was going to ask you before Anthony asked you, like, you don't have any VAs working for you right now. Everyone's just...
No, I have 4 VAs. I have 4 full-timers. So, right. So my VAs considered team members.
Exclusive to you.
They're exclusive employees. However, we use a staffing firm. I don't want to deal with technology, insurance-related, wage-related issues in foreign countries.
Got it.
Right? So we use a staffing firm. We use 2 different staffing firms, actually, for our team members, our VEs, virtual employees. But Yana has been with me for almost 5 years. Right? Martin is just finished his 3rd year. Rich just finished year 1. My VAs, they're with me just as long as my regular employees.
They're family, just like the rest of them.
Like, as long as they're on video and communicating face to face, you can build that relationship with them. I have team member, Margaret's been with me for 14 years.
Wow.
Josh has been with me for 10 years. So that says something about me, I think, like that I'm doing something right by my team members, right? Who's the most important people to take care of is the employee first, then the customer second.
Always.
Right? Having good, happy employees is going to create a good work environment. And I like to think that I do a decent job keeping my employees happy. They've been with me for so long, they could quit tomorrow and go make more money. Guarantee you they could all go get a different job and go make more money. We had somebody that we hired and very excited for this hire. And he's like, I need 3 weeks. No problem. We gave him 3 weeks because he needed to do whatever he needed to do. And then the Friday before the Monday he was about to start, I texted him, looking forward to seeing you on Monday. I'm very excited to get this ball rolling. Aaron, can you give me a call? I'm like, oh, fuck. Because I knew what was coming. Yep. He's like, Aaron, I'm sorry. I just took another job today. I'm like, you couldn't tell me this 2 weeks ago? Like, I wasted 3 weeks waiting for you, right? Talk about the failure of hiring people. This was one of them because we had a 3-week gap where we were just waiting for a start date. Offer accepted, signed, delivered, 3 weeks, and then we have no start. It's like I needed the money. I had to take the job. Can you come up? He wanted $130,000, and we weren't paying anywhere near $130,000. A month later goes by, he calls me back. Aaron, it's not what I thought it was. Do you think I can come work for you now? I'll work for whatever you want to pay me. I'm like, no, you had your chance.
Yeah.
It's too late. You got dangled a carrot that was poisonous, and it wasn't worth what they said it was
He checked
worth.
off his loyalty on the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He went and gave it all away for a paycheck, and he failed big time. I hope he's doing great today. I hope he figured it out. I'm sure he's a smart guy. Definitely figured something out. But it's not always as glamorous on the other side of it, right? That's why I say my team members could go to New York City and get paid significantly more money. Quality of life is going to go way down when you have to commute an hour and a half on both sides of the day and get stuck working until 6 o'clock at night every day.
Yeah.
You think if this potential hire called you a week after your interview and things just turned out different, right?
Sure.
Maybe he let you know, hey, it's an opportunity. I have to take it for my family, and then called you later on. Would you take him back then?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. No loyalty from the get-go.
And he's income driven, not result driven.
I see that the other way personally, right? Because, prime example, we've had plenty of people that actually left for greener pastures, and we send them off with a handshake and, hey, good luck. Love to hear from you. Sometimes they keep in contact with the manager. Most of those people come back. We rehire them, and they've been with us
as an existing employee, different. A potential hire, I see him looking to jump at the next carrot that gets dangled in front of his face.
Two ways. The follow up here, right, is the fact that he's loyal to what's important to him, which is probably just as important to you, which is family, right? And if he put his family first and he thought that this is the best option for my family today, and then realized this is not the best option for my family today, I had a good option, isn't that loyalty?
My gut tells me otherwise.
No, that's fair.
I go the other direction. But on the employee side of that equation, we've had that too. We had somebody leave. She got a much better offer. Life was good. I wished her the best. I was happy for her. Like, at the time, I wasn't able to match it. and I wanted her to go learn, go grow, go experience, go do.
Love that.
Right? 6 months later, she came back to work for us. Right? She's like,
Open arms.
it wasn't what I thought it was. I said, okay, what did you learn? What can you do different? What do you know now that you learned over that 6 months that you can bring back to us and help us do things better? Right? So for me, I got a more experienced person back than if she had stayed with me for that 6 month span and was just working as my personal assistant still. Right? She came back and understood a little bit more about corporate world. She understood a little bit more about different technologies. She saw a whole different culture, right? So that 6 months, that was great learning. You know, if I could get rid of all my employees for 6 months to go do something else and then come bring something back, I think that'd be so cool, right? I wouldn't trust everybody to come back. No, nor could I afford to lose people for 6 months at a time. But if you think about that, if all of your employees could go away for 6 months, go to a different industry, stay in the industry, go to work for a different company and just learn something and then come back,
Changes their comfort level.
so powerful at that point, right? The whole dynamic changes to the power goes way through the roof. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, it's like a deep cover.
I don't want to execute that.
So
I'm not writing the playbook on that one.
You got wife and kids. How do you? And you're a busy man, bro. I see you everywhere. You're always somewhere. I'm sure the stress at home isn't easy, but I see that you make sure you're there for little princess parties and the camp outs, and I see what you're doing. But you know, as a father, and my kids are older now, you know, I think a tough battle growing up was, you know, missing so many things because I had an obligation. Though my obligation was my family at the time, I realized that money was the driver for the things I wanted to do for my family. And not until, like, you know, later on as my kids got older, I realized that I had to do more things for them and with them, and the money would follow. But, you know, how do you, there's no such thing as work-life balance. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. But how do you balance out, pendulum, however you want to call it, that work and life part of your life?
I mean, I don't use the word balance. I use the word harmony, right? You can create work-life harmony. And that's somebody wrote that in a book. I didn't create that.
Yeah.
I forget who, and I've used it so many times I own it now. But it's creating harmony in there. And I don't miss many things for my children, right? You're talking about princess parties. My youngest, Dare, just turned 7. We had a pool party. She had her Barbie theme. You know, just so happens her and my wife like are one day apart, share a birthday. So my wife tagged in, and so we had a double birthday party, pool party for both of them. I don't miss that stuff. I love it. Now, while I'm at the birthday party, am I taking phone calls for work? 100%. You know, so my time is cut. I can be somewhat distracted, but I'm in a position right now where my teams are so strong that they don't need me anymore. Right? That's why I can work on the next thing of building that sales force, because my teams are so good and I trust them so much that I don't need to be in there for every conversation. Now, we're very mobile, thankfully, with our mobile technology. You know, I pulled up to the parking lot of my office today and I sat in the car for 37 minutes just on email, and I never even got out of the car because I was just, you know, responding and doing what I needed to do with my thumbs. Right. So thankfully we can do that. I don't know what I would have done 20 years ago when we were still paper and a little bit of email. Right. But today we can be hyper mobile, and I can be connected. I can be part of it. And then I got to duck out and respond. I mean, my wife knows on our honeymoon I was working. I had no choice. I had one employee, you know, 11 years ago when I got married, I had one employee. I had to work. I had to take every single phone call that I could possibly take while I was away. And when I travel today, I still answer texts and emails for things that are going on, right? So unfortunately, I'm never disconnected, but I try to be always present. You know, it's...
So for me, I would fight your battle in this whole presence thing, because I'd feel like there'd be a guilt issue or a disconnection issue if your kids are trying to talk to you, show you something, daddy watch this, daddy watch this, daddy watch this, but you're fucking on your phone. You know what I mean? Like, how do you deal with that? Because there's times where it's like, they don't give a fuck if you're at the party. They want to know if you saw them jump in a pool with their friends, right? So, like, how do you juggle that? Or, like, listen, your kids are young. They're needy. Dad, right. Dad, right? So, and you're in the middle of an email, and you don't even hear them saying dad. you're just in the middle of the email, and then you'll be like, bro, like, I'm talking to you. And yeah, I was busy. But how do you deal with that? Because that's something I always had to deal with.
It's you know,
Everyone's like,
you're
"Were you at my
right.
party?"
I
You're right.
fucking know the life. I lived it.
You're right. And my phone was away for most of the party. You know, so at the party I was in the pool and doing the things. And when I got home, I cleaned up my inbox. You know, so there's still time at night. And I used to work at night. I don't work at night as much, but if I have something during the day, I'm going to respond to everything in the evening, or I'm going to quickly flip things over to other people that can respond on my behalf. Again, the team can do so much. But talk about being present. I don't have my phone or my watch on me right now, right? So when I'm sitting in your studio, when I'm sitting in my studio doing a podcast, I have to remove the devices physically. They have to be physically taken away from me so that my pocket's not buzzing, my wrist isn't buzzing, because once things start, then I'll start having that nervous tick, like, what's more important than talking to you guys right now? There's nothing more important than talking to you guys right now. So that's also me having to physically remove the devices to be present, or else the brain does.
And you
weird
do the same thing
things.
at home?
And when I'm at home, when it's kid time, I put the phone on the counter, and we try to be like dinner time, phones away.
How about the watch?
What's that?
How about the watch?
Guilty.
Guilty, right? And
See,
you know what? The stupid watch.
Your kids are young. My kids are older, like 20, 19. Like, I just remember the times where they were like, I really wish you saw that, but you were on your phone. You know what I mean? And it's happened.
It happens.
And those are times where I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, I made the client more important. I made the business more important. And, the customer can wait 2 minutes. But the problem is, as men, a female will put her phone down, watch, follow up with the email. A male, our brain doesn't work like that. We're so in tune and we're so engaged in trying to get things going. But, like, now I look back and I'm like, when I'm with them, phone down. Because if I don't have my phone down, they don't have their phone down. And if I'm trying to talk to them, because even at the older ages, it's the same thing. As soon as you're sitting at a table with 6 people, the first person picks up the phone. Number 2, all 6 people are now on a phone in the next minute.
Yeah, that's true.
So things have changed, obviously, in the last, let's say, 10 years since my kids have been younger. But I do remember times where I've even missed a touchdown that my son made because I was fucking on my phone.
I look at it both ways, right? There's the alternative of we can be mobile and be connected, right? And sometimes distracted, or we can be forced to commute and be out of the house. I see people leaving my neighborhood at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting home at 7 o'clock at night.
That's terrible.
Right? So I'm home. I take my kids to school every day, right? So they get me time in the morning. We just bought a puppy. My wife and kids got a puppy. I'm still, against it, but you can see by the track marks all over my hands that the puppy is abusing me with her razor sharp teeth, and so taking care of the dog has been great for the kids. And listen, I like having a dog in the house. Having the dog in the house is great. It's an additional responsibility, but it's a great time and way to connect with the kids as well. So I get to see my kids every morning. I see them every afternoon. I'm home. I'll go home and spend some time with them, and then I'll go back out if I have to go to an evening networking event. So always try to do what I can do to make time and fit everything in. And, my personality is just go, go, go. I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to go on to the next. You can't hold me down for too long in any one place, right? I can't go to a networking event for 3 hours. I'm going to go for an hour, shake hands, say hello, see people, and I'm out the door and onto the next thing. So I'm not a lingerer. My kids know that. We're going to go spend an hour. And, last night my little one and I went for a walk around the block, and that was the best thing ever. I left my phone on the counter, and she's like, Dad, can we have music while we go? So I had to put my phone in my pocket so we can have music. And then I'm like, wanting to pick it up and, see what messages are coming through, but kept it in my pocket so we could listen to music while we were out for a walk. Like, it's great.
Toxic.
Yeah, I just know those things are so super important, especially as your kids get older, because I do remember that stuff. But times are different, and kids, if we as humans are always on our devices, it's going to force them to be on their devices,
100%.
and it creates such disconnection.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any kids, right? But So I really don't know that struggle, but what does bother me is when you see the kids at the restaurant with the big iPads and they're
That
like
pisses me off.
3-4 years old and like they're just staring at this thing. No
So listen, I used to
communication.
have problems with that too, and then you get to the point where the kids are just annoying as fuck, and you're like, "Here's a device, leave me alone for a little bit, so you can have an adult conversation." So like, I see both sides of that, and we went for a long time without any screens. You know, my oldest one didn't do any screens until she was 2. You know, so we've been strict on that. We read a lot of books in the house. My 10-year-old has read more books than 90% of the adults that I know. And, you know, my little one reads a lot too. So we try to do less TV time, more book time, you know, and it's hard. But in the restaurants, sometimes you need a break too. And sometimes the kids just need a distraction and don't want to be engaged in adult conversation when they're little. There's always a balance to all of it. There's a time and a place for all of that technology. Like airplanes, they need it.
Yeah.
You know, we all need a device when we're sitting on an airplane for 4 hours or 5 hours, wherever we're going.
So talk to us about your podcast. It was a pleasure to be a guest on your podcast, but tell the audience, like, why did you start the podcast? What's the point of the podcast? And what are you trying to do with it?
Yeah, so the podcast is the Who You Work With Matters podcast, right? And this is kind of like my third iteration of podcast as I continue to develop, right? As I continue to grow. And I ask myself the same question. Do I want to continue podcasting? What do I want to do next? How do I want to continue to get my message out there? More importantly, I use the podcast as a great way to connect. I love the conversations that I get to have with people one-on-one in this type of scenario or two-on-one in this type of situation. Like, these are the most valuable conversations we're ever going to have right now, in my opinion. Like, I can go out for a coffee with somebody and have a good conversation, but when you turn the fucking cameras and the mics on, you have a different level of focus, and I think it's so cool. Like, I even had a family member. I interviewed my cousin. I never asked him to, never wanted to. He's very, very successful, and he's always been a mentor. He's always been a who in my life, right? My cousin Jeremy. And he's like, hey, what's up with the podcast? He's like, if you ever need a guest, let me know. I'm like, done. You're in. Let's do it. This is going to be awesome, right? He knows a lot about me. I know a lot about him, but then I get to learn more. I get to learn things about
Questions you never
him
asked
that I didn't
before.
know because now we're asking targeted questions. We're having a different conversation than if we were sitting down and having a beer or having a meal. It's not going to go into that depth. The microphone adds depth to the conversation, and I love it. So Who You Work With Matters is all about the who's in our lives, celebrating and sharing stories about people that have helped shape us, that work with us today, that refer us, that need us, right? Every important person in, I'm going to say in history, has a who. I'm doing Walter Isaacson's Steve Jobs right now, right? Steve Jobs was a nobody without his partner, Wozniak. It was nothing without him, right? And then Steve became the figure, but he had somebody that actually had the idea.
Wozniak
Steve
was a
had
genius.
Steve had the marketing and the cunning, right? And Steve's also such an asshole as you read through the book. Like, the dude's crazy,
Yeah.
right? But he became the face of this and had these crazy ideas. But he had so many people behind him that helped him do what he did best, which was create perfection and create the market shift, right? So everybody has these who's. So if you read books about any successful individuals, there's always somebody in the background that's
Impacted.
the who, right? I forget who we call them, the integrators, the aggregators, you know, somebody that's the implementer, somebody that's doing different work than being the face. And I have who's that are with me, you know, for everything that I do for work and continuing to expand that. So the prior iteration was the And Insurance podcast, where I focused on a guest, a story, and then I tied it back to some insurance concept, right? So it's very target insurance related. And I said, I kind of want to get away. I can still talk about insurance, but I want to get away from it being an insurance podcast and being more of a general media, general business style podcast to be able to maybe reach a different audience, grow a little bit deeper, have different conversations, because I don't always need to talk about insurance, right? I'd love talking about self, family, you know, business growth, personal branding. I'm speaking on a panel next week about personal branding, right? And how your personal brand follows you everywhere you go, right? Everything you do follows you. Every meeting that I'm going to have, well, if somebody goes to the Google machine and looks us up, I want them to see this. I want them to see that I was a speaker over here, that I was on this panel, that I led this conversation, right? That I won this award. I want them to know who that they're going to work with, and then learn about what we can do to be a differentiator in our industry and do things a little bit different. I want people to be excited to work with me, right? The Aaron Levine, we're rebuilding a personal website for me also right now. We have a meeting with a web company next week, and we're taking the podcast website, which is currently whoyouworkwith.com, and we're going to move it over to theaaronlevine.com. I've owned that domain for 15 years. And all my social media is The Aaron Levine, right?
We talked about this.
And yeah, we talked about this. Exactly. We talked about building up,
Brand.
on the personal side, building up the brand and doing it a little bit differently. You helped me with that. And so we're going to rebuild the website and make it more of a Aaron Levine focused website with a podcast in it, because I want people to hire me. I want bigger companies to say, yes, Aaron's the guy we want to work with. And then my team's going to do the rest of the work. Right. So, that's the fun stuff with the podcast. But again, I get to learn every time I get to sit and have these conversations. I make the joke all the time. I love interviewing lawyers because I get free legal advice, right? When do you get to sit down with an attorney for an hour and get that one-on-one going? And you get to ask questions that you don't get charged for, right? In 7-minute blocks or 6-minute blocks, however attorneys charge you for it. So always make that joke. You learn a lot. But between interviewing family and fun guests, I love being able to meet new people. We have somebody coming on in a couple of weeks who I worked with his wife 20 years ago when I was in real estate. She was the admin, and, we stayed remotely close via Facebook, whatever. And so Pete reached out to me, said, hey, I'm starting a new career. Here's what I'm doing. If you know anybody, I said, I don't know anybody that's going to help you, but I'd love for you to come and share your story on the podcast. Step one, come sit down with me and let's talk about it on the podcast. Then I can learn more about you. You can share your story. That's me being able to help you. And maybe and who knows where it goes next. I never know where things are going next, because as we talk, listen, and learn, that's when we're exploring on where things are going to go next.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? If we can impact one person per episode, then I think we did a good job.
I love that.
Made some change. But
yeah.
Back to your podcast, The Who. So who's been most pivotal who in your life?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I want to say my children, but that's kind of cliche, right? Because, it's...
Very.
Yeah, they didn't
Sorry,
mention
but very.
Then everybody says, oh, what's your why? Family is my
Your
why. No, that's bullshit.
I think your why is your family, or can be, but I don't think your who is, because that isn't what inspired you to be you.
Yeah, listen, so my dad, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, right? So I always wanted to be, quote unquote, in business for myself, right? I hate being a salesman, but all I fucking do is sell all day long, right? I had to grow this business by selling one insurance policy at a time. So I've always been a salesman, not on purpose.
I cut people off and tell them, we are all salesmen. We sell our time for money, regardless. Yeah. So every time someone says, I don't want to do sales, I go, you show up every day and sell your $1 per hour, right? So go ahead.
We're selling right now. I talked about building a new branding website,
right, exactly,
so that I can better sell myself and put a better display on the internet for me, right? So
100%.
we're selling nonstop. So my dad was pivotal, was important to me in growing up and having the work ethic. Yeah. My dad worked a lot, right? In my early childhood years, me and my brother we owned a gas station and a car wash in Newark in the 80s. So my brother and I would go pump gas. So at 7, 8 years, 9 years old, 10 years old, I was pumping gas in Newark, filling up cars for $10. Be like a $10 fill up, back then, and we'd have to learn how to make change.
That was an SUV, man. Some cars were probably
fucking tank.
I mean, those Cadillacs, it was 79 cents a gallon at the time, right? Whatever it was.
That's crazy.
People come by, buying $1 worth of gas just to get enough so they can get down the street. But, so it's just learning that work ethic and learning how to manage and be with people is what I learned growing up. and at high school working in the restaurants as well, right? I was a busboy, right? I was cleaning tables and washing trays, but I always had a smile on my face. That customer interaction, learning that from my father and my grandfather and my aunt, is not being able to being afraid to do the dirty work, because we all have to take out the trash at some point, and we all have to know how to take out the trash at some point. So just learning how to interact with people growing up, watching my father and my grandfather. My grandfather would get behind the counter if it was busy, July, summer day, and drive everybody nuts. We're in the hot dog business. So, if there's a long line out the door, everybody's jumping behind and making everybody crazy and doing what you got to do. But it was all about that customer interaction and being able to, serve customers, treat them well. Even when you're cleaning up the trash from a table, that shit goes a long way, right? So just learning those things at a young age, very important. Today in my life, I have different mentors for different things. That's why I said I'm going down to Key West for this mastermind style group. The leader of that group is one of the smartest brains in insurance that I know, and he runs the group. He invited me to speak on a panel. Now he trusts me to share my story and my message with the rest of his people, our people that are going to be down there. That's like huge. That's a feel good moment, right? I was 2 inches taller when he invited. He's like, "Hey, Aaron, I got the email or the text or whatever it was. I want you to be on this panel. We're gonna have a pre-call this day." I'm like, "Oh, I made it." Because when I get to teach my peers, right now, I know I'm at the top of my game. When I get to teach my peers. So there's different people today that are critical to what I do, but that's the never stop learning attitude, is finding new people. Who can I surround myself? Who can I learn from? How can we take things to another level and just continue to evolve? And really the goal is just to keep it interesting, right? And stay curious and keep things interesting along the way.
What kind of things run through your mind, maybe keep you up, keep you thinking? Being a business owner, I think everyone thinks it's all glorious, but we'll literally be driving and we'll just get some shit popping in our head, or we're trying to go to sleep or whatever it is. Like, what kind of stuff keeps you up?
God, losing keeps me up, right? So I lost $100,000 this month. It sucks. Will I make it up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I know that I'll make it up? Yeah. And how I know is because I've lost it before, right? You read some of the stories about some of these great financial brains, right, of losing millions and millions of dollars and then building it back up again. Like, it's all possible. We need to lose to learn and grow, which sucks. We all fucking hate losing, right? It's, do you like to win or do you hate to lose conversation? I hate to lose. I love winning. But winning is like, all right, we won, on to the next. When I lose, I dwell on it, right?
I lost $500,000 last year, shit I was going through. I mean, it's painful, but at the end of the day, you grow through it, and it's going to happen.
I can still pay my bills.
Can't always win.
Right?
When you pay for a lesson, you never forget it.
Yeah. What did we do? What did we do that we need to do differently?
Yep.
What can we fix? We only learn lessons by losing.
True.
Right? We learn by winning. We learn better lessons when we lose.
Yes.
Right? In business, in sports, in life, everything that we do, we learn so much more from losing. As much as it sucks, we do learn a lot. So, I used to be kept up a lot. I used to be up all night. I'm a 3 a.m. guy. 3 a.m. I'm up firing emails off. And I haven't been doing that lately. I've been sleeping pretty soundly. I don't wake up and check email right away. I get my day started, then I'll flip through email, delete most of the garbage that comes through. And if I'm up at 3 a.m., it's because I didn't do something the day before that I should have. I didn't finish something, then it's keeping me going.
It's on your mind.
But right now I've been sleeping soundly lately. Things are good because I love my team and I trust my team.
Love that.
When you don't trust your team, then you're worried about every account, every piece of business, every step of the process that has to be done. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that right now. For many years, I did that. And it takes a long time to be able to hand the keys over to your team to do their jobs and do them well and help them do them better.
Yeah, it's micromanaging is hard to stop, right? But you learn that it's almost egotistical to micromanage because you think that you could do everything better than everybody else. So therefore you have to be on top of everybody. It's a little bit egotistical.
If I tried really hard, I could probably find the day where the switch flipped.
I think I could as well.
Right? You can find that day. You can pinpoint that moment where that switch flips and you're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
The trust is there. I built the team. They're solid. Let's go.
It's almost like one person just has to tell you, you know what, Aaron, I got it.
Yep.
And you're like,
that's what happened to me. I was like, I'm like, fuck, cut the umbilical cord. See ya.
and that was it, right? It's like, oh, I got it. It's like, you don't even know what this. Do you? All right, let's see. You know, and they pull it off. And you're like, okay,
Right.
now I can let off the reins a little bit. I don't have to be there. But
It's a cool-
Aaron, it's been an absolute pleasure having
Guys,
you
thank
on.
you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
for sure.
it.
Glad
If
you've been on.
any business owner wants insurance, needs insurance, or wants a Cybertruck at 6 o'clock p.m.,
Friday night.
how do they reach you? And also, if they're looking to get on your podcast or have a message they want to
love
explore,
it.
how do they reach you?
Clearly, the new website might be launched by the time this podcast gets out. So, theaaronlevine.com. Luxury Group INS on Instagram is our business. And just search up Aaron Levine on LinkedIn. I love making connections and having conversations. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you for being a guest. And guys, if you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so.
Please share and listen. Thanks, guys.